Hey guys, Josh here. I'm part one architecture assistant, and I'm here to just talk about site context for a project that I have been working on outside of my general day-to-day office duties in practice. So this is a conceptual project, but it has real parameters in that the site exists. I went and stayed on the site a couple of months ago for a period of 6 weeks. We are based in the Caribbean, in an island called St Lucia, which is a pear-shaped, small rainforest-covered island in the Caribbean. The site itself is on the southeast coast of the island, so it's somewhat protected from a lot of the harsh Atlantic winds that are that come over from the east, but it does still receive quite a lot of high wind and a lot of risk whenever there's hurricanes around in the season. So this video is just to kind of explain why I've decided to base a new building in the way that I have, and I hope it's clear. So the site itself is actually at the moment, it's 3 existing stone walls that are covered in a canopy of bamboo, which I presume is locally sourced, with some basic structural columns, a couple of window openings, and a larger door opening, which are all the openings are empty, including the main entrance, which is from this direction. So the site and the building is orientated on an east to west axis. So you got your east point, which is here, and you got your west point, which is roughly over here, and then you got north, and you got south over here, which this means that the sun rises over here and sets in the west, just like here, and it means that over the course of the day, the existing 3 stone walls, the ruin, which is what it's locally known as, receives a lot of sunshine into its premises all throughout the day, creating a really nice, serene, peaceful place to be and stay, particularly as you've got lots of vegetation in the form of some trees and plants, and which creates a kind of natural canopy and shading, which it actually makes the place bearable, because if you didn't have these here, then throughout the day, particularly during the dry season, it would be almost unbearable to spend any time in here. So these trees actually serve a really great purpose to keep this small site comfortable and bearable. The site sits on a much wider estate, which is run by a building which is sited around here, but is more like around 100 or so meters away. The program for this new site is swinging between the idea of a museum to showcase the wider area and the history of the place, mixed with a cafe and a residential unit to allow people to come and stay. And so after staying at this place, I've come away and I've thought about how you could activate the site in different ways, how you could bring people in, the community in, but also focusing on how people can live on the site without harming or interrupting what is already there. Some other wider things to consider are what the terrain is like. So the majority of the grass and land around is just basic grassland. So the site is predominantly flat with no real harsh visible gradients, which makes things a little bit easier, but not to be taken for granted, and also not to be taken lightly. There's also a somewhat harsh drop at this point here, but this is comfortably far enough away from the site that I don't consider this part of the site, but you've got the edge of a rainforest around here, which this project does not interrupt or include, but it's just good to mention. There's also views out towards the sea on this side, which is something to really kind of think about and make use of, how to open up this side of the project. And as well, as briefly mentioned at the start of this video, the site does receive a lot of wind, varying at different parts of the year, normally coming from the east, where the Atlantic Ocean is. And so in thinking about which way to orientate a building, the sun and the wind are two of the main dominating factors here into deciding where or if or how one should approach placing a new building to create a different experience to what is already here, and to uplift and celebrate what is already here as well. But I would talk about like the design concepts and features in some forthcoming videos, but just to touch briefly on the placement in which I'm approaching the project with is a new building that could be positioned directly adjacent to the existing building. Some reasons why are that if anywhere else would be interrupting, so if I look at this area of the site to place something new, perhaps a new entrance into the ruins or something along them lines, then I think this part of the site is already being used quite heavily by groundsmen, children, people that are staying on the site. The grass is really well kept and looked after. And so I don't want to introduce anything here that might interrupt this already really open and fresh space. I can't do anything around the back because there is a small stream, and while of course there might be ideas and suggestions to build something over the stream or something that mixes with the stream, I think for this situation it's better to leave that stream because there's a lot of varying terrain around this part of the site. If I move on to this side here, then we're starting to interrupt the trees. I mentioned at the start of the video that these trees actually give a really nice natural canopy to the site. So without these here, there's a lot of harsh light getting into the depths of the building. So in keeping a building on this side adjacent to the ruin, it means that there's already a natural element of shading coming in from the trees and the ruin into the building. So there's less need for architecture elements that are there to take that are there to bring levels of sunlight down or shading. If anything, I can afford to think about an architectural building that kind of really celebrates the light that is coming in, which is already kind of distilled and fragmented. Also, if I orientate the building on this side or propose something that is orientated in this direction, then there's a lot of opportunity to make use of ventilation and natural wind coming in, reducing the need for technology or complications where you're trying to maximize limited amount of ventilation. So I don't want to create a building that hides away from these elements. I want to design something that really kind of brings air in and celebrates that. So designing a building with openings on these sides so that lots of air can get in throughout the day and cool it down at night time so that it's more bearable for people to sleep and stay and eat. And as well, placing the building on this side, I'm thinking about concepts of sharing the ruin wall. So just to round up this video, my thinking is to propose something where there are structural elements involved that allow the user and inhabitant of the building to be able to experience the materials of the stone wall, to be able to touch and feel the presence of that, how you would if you were in the ruin today, experiencing the peacefulness and the tranquility that's already there, but in a way that doesn't harm the ruin building or put pressure on the ruin wall structurally. So the section in the plan, we'll talk a little bit more about how I'm going to approach that, but this is what I'm working towards at the moment. And yeah, I hope this has been, I hope you've enjoyed listening, and I will see you in the next video where I'll talk about the plan, and then forthcoming I'll talk about the section more. But great, I'll see you in the next video.